United's first goal came from counter-attack, and it actually involved two of our old boys. So we have Amrabat here on the ball, and he's going to find Fred with this pass right here. As Fred receives the ball, his touch is a little bit off, and Ugarte is quick to close him down. He sticks the foot in, wins the ball off Fred. As he retrieves the ball, Eriksson comes in to try and help and offer a passing option. They pass it around Fred in a nice little 1-2, and Ugarte is able to find Xerxes. Xerxes off. Mazraoui, who was playing number 10, interestingly, in the first half, is off. Marcus Rashford's going, and Garnacho is going. And Xerxes decides to play this ball to Garnacho. Of course, as Garnacho receives the ball, he's going to run at Soyuncu here. It's all the way into the box. Probably means to play this to Xerxes, but plays it a little bit too firm and ends up going to Mazraoui. Mazraoui does a nice little layoff to Xerxes, but because the pass is a little bit behind him, Xerxes has to check his run and ends up facing away from the goal. As Xerxes gets his bearings, look how far away Amrabat is. At the halfway line, he was close to Xerxes, now he's miles behind. He's not blocking off this passing lane to Eriksson, who's steaming in, and Xerxes is going to lay it off. Eriksson smashes it into the side netting. Brilliant transition goal. Our next big chance came from a little bit of individual brilliance from Marcus Rashford. And I don't know what you guys think, but I've been enjoying Marcus Rashford as a right winger recently. I think it's something new. He can be a bit more creative. I like the idea. So Marcus, as he likes to do, dribbles at the defense. And as he also likes to do, he feints to shoot and is going to cut this way, sending this defender flying. Look at how much space is here for Marcus to just wrap this ball into the far corner from. But because after his cutback, the ball got stuck underneath him a little bit, he decides to take another touch and then shoot. Which by that point allowed Soyuncu to close this gap, so it's a little bit more of a difficult angle to try to curl this in from. And unfortunately, the ball goes agonizingly wide. And of course, it'll come back to bite us. Look at that. How close can you get? Fenerbahce had some great chances in the first half too, and the first one came from Fred, who, doing his best Pirlo impression, plays a ridiculous ball into the box for this man, number 53, to run onto, in between De Ligt and Dalla, who's off the screen there, just jogging. Maybe if he sprinted, he could have affected the play somehow. Even if not, you'd like to see some urgency in this kind of situation. Meanwhile, the ball lands at this player. He plays it across first time, and it looks like En-Nesyri has the run on Victor Lindelof and is going to tap it in. But the ball is a little bit too far in front, misses En-Nesyri. Onana gets a hand to it, but doesn't knock it out of danger. He instead knocks it into the path of an oncoming Tadic. And it looks like from this position, that is a certain goal. The goal is wide open. Onana is on the ground helpless. But of course, as we know, our boy of the moment, Ugarte, comes in and saves the day. What a block. I repeat, what a freaking block. Of course, we have to talk about Onana's double save. It's the same player again, number 53. No one near him to block the cross. And what Fenerbahce actually did really well was this player would start in this central sort of zone and drift out wide, which would overload this left-hand side and leave him in a lot of space. So the ball's going to get whipped in. It's actually going to bounce off this man's head. None of our players here react quickly enough. No one jumps. It lands on this player's head. And it's actually a really good header. Bounces just in front of the keeper and forces the first of Onana's two great saves. The ball, of course, gets looped up into the air. He's going to land on number 10, who's going to knock it back in towards En-Nesyri. Lissandro was marking En-Nesyri, but has decided to go over to block the cross, which is the right idea. He just doesn't get there in time. The ball lands right on top of En-Nesyri's head, and from this distance with a powerful header, you kind of expect it to go in, even though Onana's covering the angle. But of course, Onana springs up and makes a big save. And a save that, to be honest, De Gea would make, which made De Gea one of my favourite players of all time. After knocking on the door numerous times in the first half, we'd finally concede the equaliser very early in the second from a very, very simple goal and an infuriating one at that. So Saint-Maximin's got the ball here. This is the matchup we want to look out for, En-Nesyri versus Lindelof. We know physically Lindelof isn't the best. And again, this is Diogo Dalot. He's the winger. He should be up on him, block any crosses. But maybe he's a little bit fearful of St. Maximan's tricks, doesn't get tight. You could argue number 53 again, who's been causing us problems, is making this underlapping run and drawing the attention of some of these players, but Ericsson should be enough to deal with him. There's really no excuse for not going and blocking this cross. As St. Maximan swings it in, Dalot just dangles a hopeful leg out. Markets is not going there to close him down either. And again, we're focusing on this matchup. Lindelof gets caught underneath the ball. He obviously knows that Enyezri is there, but does very, very little to deter him. And it's an easy, wide open header towards the ground and into the back of the net. It's not the conceding that I have the issue with, it's how easy that goal was. Let's look at it from a different angle. So, of course, many people would criticize Lindelof here, but to be honest, the cross is absolutely fantastic. Like, as a defender, when you're running sideways and backwards and you get caught underneath the ball, you don't have the momentum to jump really high and head it. So the ball was fantastic. For me, it's more about Marcus Rashford and Dalot not doing enough to get in the way of the cross. As we see, the ball comes in right on top of Enyezri's head, and because Lindelof is traveling this way, like, you can't get a good jump. If you go back a few frames, when the ball is directly on top of Lindelof's head, that's a big distance. That looks like maybe a third of his body, and he's not Ronaldo, and he's running backwards, so I don't think he can jump that high to get a head on it, to be honest. The rest, of course, is history. If you enjoyed the video, guys, please consider subscribing and leave a like. Cheers.